Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of the Man once again, and today we are doing another Kaiju number 8 chapter review. Today we are going to be covering chapter 27, which is this week's chapter. Now, as always, we're going to have a recap section, then a proper spoiler section, although not much happened this chapter, so this is going to be quite shorter than usual. And then we are going to have a small theory section of the video where I just talk about something that I thought of while reading the chapter. So yeah, if you want to see the whole series of chapter reviews as well as some ramblings on different topics and a showcase of the first volume of Kaiju number 8, the Japanese version, because the English version hasn't come out yet, you can find the playlist for Kaiju number 8 on my channel and you can watch all of it, or it's also going to be at the end of the video, so you can just wait for that. If you also want to see the last chapters up there in the card, so feel free to check that out before you check out this video, but of course I am going to have the recap, so don't worry about it. Okay, so before we actually get started though, there are some news. I think the official cover for volume 2 has just released. It's coming out sometime late in March, I think, if I remember correctly. Can't remember, but it's a very nice blue cover. It features Reno Ichikawa, right? That's his last name? Reno Ichikawa is his full name, I think. Which is wonderful. He's a great character. I really do like him. I am a little bit sad that we didn't get like a kaiju per cover, but I can kind of understand why that is, and it's because there won't always be a kaiju, like a humanoid kaiju, show up cover to cover, right? So it makes sense that they would, choose human characters more often than not. But the blue color is really nice. I honestly would have really liked it if they used number 9 and put an orange cover behind him. I think it would have looked really nice, but I think that's just because orange covers are not very common in manga that we get in the US, so there you go. Now let's actually jump into the recap section of the chapter from last week. So basically it's a flashback at the beginning to show how Kikoru got her giant axe, which is badass. The giant axe is so cool. I really do like it. And Kikoru is just such a bigger badass than she already was because she has this awesome, really cool axe. And she kind of reminds me of like a Valkyrie character or like a Nordic shield maiden with, her long blonde hair, her gigantic axe. It's very cool, very kind of like symbolic. And in general, it's just really awesome. And then we also get her to show off all of her attacks. So far, she's shown us 3 of them. One of them is Falling Thunder. The other one is Water Skimmer, and the last one is like something slasher, or moon slasher or something like that. I can't remember the exact name, but she ends up doing that, and then she has like a moment where she kind of has a little bit of a lapse in judgment or like a lapse in attention, and Reno shows up and saves her. He shoots the kaiju with some freeze bullets, and then they kind of form a 2-man team, and everyone starts to support them as they kind of move through the battlefield. So there you go. And then on the other side of things, we have Hoshina holding down the fort, fighting this giant kaiju, Kaiju number 10, it hasn't been officially named Kaiju number 10, but it's easier to say Kaiju number 10 than Draconic Kaiju, right? So we're gonna go with that. And he manages to cut him, right? He cuts off his arm, and kaiju do have healing abilities, so it's weird that he didn't actually re-heal himself, but whatever. And then he guides him into the training center so he can unleash his full 92% battle capacity power, which is really cool. I did really like that. He had a really nice pose with both of his swords like crossing in front of him and kind of like looking to the side. It was really nice. So that was a recap from last time. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And let's jump into the proper chapter review now. So if you're not interested in spoilers, click off right now. So yeah, okay. So it starts out with Minase, which is this new character, and she's kind of like a really cute younger member of the JDF. She has a very nice style to her. She has like her eyes closed, and she's just really cute looking. And I think it's because it ups that whole kind of like, oh my god, she's gonna die, if like the character that is gonna experience that is kind of like really cute, right? And then it zooms in on this kaiju that's like preparing a fire attack in its mouth, and like she notices it, her eyes open really wide, And then we get Kafka running with a partial transformation, which is kind of like he just transformed his legs so he could run really quickly to get her. And he saves her from the wyvern, and she's like, oh my god, Mr. Hibino, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You're so cool. And Kafka, you know, he's like, oh my god, yeah, I'm cool. Thanks, man. And he's like trying to tell her, yeah, well, you know, it's because I'm an officer now, so I have to take care of everyone and stuff. And, you know, he in the whole kind of like, oh my god, she complimented me, what do I do kind of thing. The kaiju starts to attack again, and then the girl notices, and she's like, oh my god, Mr. Hibito, watch out. And then Kikoru comes in and beats the shit out of that kaiju, and it was wonderful. I really did enjoy it. It's very good. And yeah, so everyone like kind of meets up again. Kikoru's like, Kafka, watch out, you know, pay attention. And then Reno is like far away. He's sniping the kaiju, and he like grabs his comm, and he's like, hey, Kafka, you know, watch out, be careful, don't do anything stupid. You're an officer now. You got to take care of yourself. Please make sure to trust in your team. And then we get Kafka kind of spiraling in these like thoughts of like, oh my god, this is so awesome. My team is wonderful. I do have to trust in them. They're powerful individuals. They're going to do what is right, and we are going to win, which is really, really wonderful. I did really enjoy that. It's very cool that Kafka is like the main character, and he does fight, but in a lot of fights, he's at the periphery of them on the sidelines until it's like necessary to fight the kaiju, and it's very cool. I'm not exactly sure that I like think it'll go over well with a lot of regular, you know, traditional shonen readers, because it's kind of weird that your main character is not the one fighting, right? But it is very cool in the sense that like it's just interesting, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just like a very interesting narrative choice, and I do like it. And it's all because, you know, it's a secret. Kafka can't really fight unless it's absolutely possible for him to do so. And I really enjoy that. It's a very interesting kind of secondary dynamic to Kafka's powers. It's like, okay, Kafka is OP as hell, and well, not really, but like so far he hasn't had any problems. But the problem doesn't come from the kaiju, because he can beat most of them. It comes from people. And it's a very interesting dynamic there. I'm really excited to see how it goes. Of course, it's probably going to be 100 chapters before Kafka can really show off his powers to the people around him, because that's when it's going to be really meaningful for him to do so, right? We're at 27 chapters now. Maybe if we get to 50, Kafka will be like, okay, I got to tell Hoshina and stuff. And yeah, so while they're doing that and, you know, stuff is working out, it shifts over to Hoshina. And he's fighting number 10. He's cutting him up a lot, and the Kaiju's kind of surprised that he's managing to land so many hits, but he's actually not impressed. And it's a very cool kind of like flip the page impact moment. I'm not really exactly sure what it's called. Manga Delve on YouTube talked about this before. He's like a storyteller that reads manga and like is really interested in stuff like that. And he was talking about this like page flip impact thing that they have in a lot of Western comics that kind of worked here. And it was kind of like the same idea. It's like you're reading something and you have a certain thought process, which is the kaiju being impressed by Hoshina being able to cut him up. But then you flip the page and the kaiju gets really dark and jaggedy and scary, and he's like, that doesn't impress me. And it's very, very cool, because it's like, oh my god, that's completely the opposite of what I was thinking, you know, just 2 seconds ago. That's so cool. It has a very like strong impact to how you receive that message. It's very nice. And yeah, it was really cool that, you know, he's surprised, but the technique doesn't impress him. And he kind of like tells him that he's like, you know, you're going to have to try a lot harder than this if you're going to want to beat me. This is really lame and boring. And, you know, it's going to be like really easy because, you know, he can self-heal. And he kind of starts to do that. You kind of get that like kind of like weird bubbling effect that all the kaiju get when they're healing. And then Hoshina starts to use different techniques. He used technique 2 and then technique 4 to get the kaiju cut up into a lot of pieces. But the kaiju's like, no, he's just targeting the weak points in my armor. This isn't really all that serious because, you know, I know how to deal with that. And then Hoshina, the kaiju starts to heal because it's like, okay, now it's a lot of stuff. I do actually need to, heal all this damage before something bad actually happens. And then it starts to kind of spiral into this thought process of like, oh my God, this is my rival, this is my rival, this is my rival. And he's like, yeah, this is what a fight should be. This is awesome. We're actually hurting each other, and we're kind of deciding who the powerful one of us is. And then Hoshina cuts him again, and he uses this sixth technique, which I don't remember all the names of them, but he uses it, and then he's like, your core is really a lot smaller than it should be, and you get this really awesome scene of the kaiju having like lines all over it where, Hoshina cut him, and then it's like, did he destroy that guy's core? Because if you guys remember, a kaiju doesn't die unless you hurt its core, unless you destroy its core, which is like essentially its heart and like the thing that keeps it alive, more or less. We could also say that it probably is what contains its powers. And then, people in the center, like the girl with the glasses, Okonogi, I think is her name. She's like, yes, he did it. And then Hoshina's like, no, I did not. This is not over. And we get this really awesome scene of this kaiju kind of like building up, and it's like a really weird thing. It's like he has that whole build like healing bubble thing going on, where like all of it kind of like, he looks like the Flood from Halo, but it's like a very dark red color, or like a very dark color. I'm assuming it's red because a dragon having red skin makes a lot of sense to me, or like dark brown or something like that. And it's starting to look very big and large and kind of darker than it usually does. And that's where the theory comes in, So that's it for the chapter. The ending was really good. The reading of it was actually really, really fast. Not that much happened, and yet, there is a lot of good setup here. It's, the whole kind of like, okay, they were hit really hard, but now they've recovered, and then we're going to get like a lot more action scenes going on where we're going to have this victory part of the story. And then we're probably going to get another like really big dip in like morale before we get to the final crest and, finish the arc, right? So I'm really excited to see where it goes. I really can't wait for next week's chapter, right? We have a chapter next week. I think it's next week. I can't remember when the break is, but yeah, I'm really excited about it. And that's it. So now let's look at the theories. So the theory is all based on this very last panel of the story, right? So I think Kaiju number 10 is going to do some sort of explosion thing, or kind of implosion, because he's looking like he's going to build up to a something that's going to burst, right? Some sort of like cocoon or something. And I think he's going to explode because he's a dragon and he has like kind of like fire abilities. So it makes sense to me that an explosion would happen. And then he's going to reform into this second, battle form, right? Some sort of like upgrade, kind of like the whole Super Saiyan thing with Kaioken, or like, wait, it's not Kaioken, it's Senkai boost. They get defeated, they grow stronger, like exponentially, kind of like that. I think that idea is going to probably come into play, because we've been 30 chapters in. Kafka hasn't really explored his abilities that much. Well, he has, but we haven't seen it. But we have seen Kaiju reform. But if they can reform so easily and kind of heal, why can't they get a second or a third or a fourth form? So I think we are going to get into that kind of like power scaling thing that happens in a lot of shonen manga, where like, okay, this enemy is powerful. Let me just like, scream really loudly for a little bit and get like this emotional thing, and then like become stronger. But, we're going to see it from the bad guy's perspective first, which I'm really excited about. I think it's really cool. Hopefully that is what is the case. Otherwise, I don't know if it's going to be just like, okay, you thought you killed me, but you didn't because Kaiju's reform, So, yeah, I'm really interested to see how it goes. I think it's just a really good way to up the stakes. Oh my God, Kaiju can power up. How do we fight Kaiju that can power up if we've only fought Kaiju that have been in their base forms for like, eternity or whatever, how long Japan has been fighting Kaijus in Kaiju number 8. And it's just going to be a really good way to up the stakes and kind of lead the story into a more battle shonen oriented kind of storytelling aspect, which we don't really have that much of in this story. I mean, it is a battle shonen, and obviously it is a traditional battle shonen, but it bucks a lot of the traditions. Or, well, is it a traditional battle shonen if it bucks the traditions? I guess not. But like what I'm trying to say is like it does still follow the battle shonen tropes and the kind of like story structure. It's just kind of playing with it a little bit by making the battle shonen character not be the main character, right? So it's very interesting, and I'm hoping to see this story evolve more, because if it does want to stay long term on Shonen Jump and kind of maintain its awesomeness, it is going to have to start to conform to the traditional shonen tropes, or at least maintain a kind of high level similarity to it, because I think otherwise it's just going to get axed. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and see you guys later.